Well, greetings once again, my friends, my fellow Halloween lovers. I welcome you to another video, and this is going to be a fun video. This is an absolutely spectacular fall day. As you can see, the sun is out, the leaves are falling, and we got our buddy, Mr. Pumpkin, over here. And I want to show you something that's not really vintage, but special, and it's based on something vintage. Not long ago, I showed you guys It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown DVD. That was the remastered. We had upgraded finally from the VHS tape. Today, I want to show you the soundtrack from that. And what makes this soundtrack special is it's actually a pumpkin. And I love the shape of the vinyl and the color. It's in the shape of the Great Pumpkin. You can see Linus almost leaning on it, waiting for the Great Pumpkin to come. This is Craft Recordings. Let's see, the definitive Great Pumpkin, limited edition translucent orange pumpkin shaped disc, remastered from newly discovered original analog session reels. Includes unreleased alternative takes and new liner notes by Peanuts historian Derek Bang. This is CR00566. And one of the things that kind of makes me sad, I'm going to try to put up clips of the remastered stuff and the lost footage that was found. I'm really going to try, but chances are the copyright strike, it won't let me. If there's any way I can put up any part of the soundtrack or the special recording, I will, just to give you guys kind of a glimpse of anything extra that's not in the original or in the movie. So, looking at the packaging, you can see this is the original soundtrack recording. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown by Vince Guaraldi. And you can see the original soundtrack recording. It's the Great Pumpkin, and that was always the cover. So this one is Peanuts. This is Peanuts Worldwide, and you can see it's got a translucent package, and we can see the album. So when we take a look at side A, this is CR0056. It's the original soundtrack recording. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. And there's 12 songs on this side. Linus and Lucy, of course that's the opening scene. The Graveyard Theme, Snoopy and the Leaf, with naturally curly hair, Frida, the Great Pumpkin Waltz, Linus and Lucy reprise, Charlie Brown Theme, minor theme, Graveyard Theme, reprise. The Great Pumpkin Waltz reprise. The second reprise, the Great Pumpkin Waltz. We got the third reprise. The Graveyard Theme, Trick or Treat, the second reprise. Fanfare, Breathless Graveyard Theme. We got the Trick or Treat, third reprise. And lastly, on this side, we have Charlie Brown Theme, the reprise. So, as everything you can see, they basically have the clear album cover where we can see the actual vinyl. So, let's take a look at the other side. So, you can see the back now. When you get it nice and close, you can see the kids trick-or-treating. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Side A, I went over all 12. And taking a look at side B, Breathless, second reprise. It's a long way to Tipperary. There's a long, long trail. A winding pack up your troubles. In your old kit bag, Roses of Picardy. Graveyard Theme, Trick or Treat, fourth reprise. Linus and Lucy, second reprise. Linus and Lucy, third reprise. Charlie Brown Theme, second reprise. Lucy and Linus, alternate take. Graveyard Theme, alternate take 1. Charlie Brown Theme, alternate reprise, take 1. Linus and Lucy, alternate take 2. The Great Pumpkin Waltz, alternate take 2. Linus and Lucy, alternative reprise take 1. Charlie Brown theme, alternative reprise take 2. So all the extras, we've got the reprises. I'll compare it up to the original soundtrack because I don't have the original album. Well, you would think that all the alternative takes are all extra. So let's see, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 7 extras songs, and that would be the alternate reprise. Special thanks to the American Foundation of Musicians. And this is 2022. So this was released in 2022. Obviously the show came out in 1966. And I'm thinking, I don't know if the soundtrack came out shortly after or the same year. But again, this is in clear vinyl. It's kind of a case, and it's made in the Czech Republic. And you can see the barcode right there. So let's go ahead and we're going to open it. I had opened it to make sure there were no scratches because we had gotten this when it first came out. So this would have been sealed, this would have been taped, and there would have been a plastic shrink wrap over the whole thing, just so you know. So I want to take out the actual vinyl and show you guys. So the packaging behind the vinyl, you can see with Linus and Sally, they're all excited. Well, Linus is all ecstatic because he thinks it's the Great Pumpkin that's rising up out of the pumpkin patch, and it's just Snoopy in his red bearing goggles. So he faints, and Sally realizes that trick-or-treat is done, the party is done, and basically Halloween is finished, and she missed it, and she's very, very upset. So that's the photo behind the vinyl. All right, so now I don't want that to blow away. So when it comes to the vinyl, I had read you side 1. So let's take a look, flip it over, and I'll show you guys side 2. Again, this is side B, and we had the Breathless reprise. It's a long way to Tipperary. There's a long, long trail. Winding, pack up your troubles in the old kit bag of roses and Bacardi. Graveyard theme. Linus and Lucy reprise. Charlie Brown theme, second reprise. And then we go into the alternative takes. Linus and Lucy alternative take 1. Graveyard theme alternative take 1. Charlie Brown theme alternative reprise take 1. Linus and Lucy alternative take 2. It's the Great Pumpkin Waltz alternative take 2. Linus and Lucy alternative reprise take 1. Charlie Brown theme alternative reprise take 2. And this is 2022. And I just love the shape of the vinyl. It's perfect. You can see where the music is, where the grooves are, where you would be playing it, as opposed to where there are no grooves. And that is the vinyl. So it's pretty breezy here today, so I can't put it on the railing because I don't want to risk losing it. So I'll put it right here. And let's take this out. So I just want to show you, you can take this out and you can actually open this up. And it has all the liner notes. And I wanted to share this with you guys because I don't know, a lot of people may not know this exists, or a lot of people may buy this as a collectible and they don't open it up. That's why I want to share this with you guys. So the Vince Guaraldi Sextet. And we got Vince Guaraldi on pianos and Celesta Monty Budwig, Colin Bailey, John Gray, Ronald Lang, and Emmanuel Klein. So that's all the copyright music for the songs. Let me make sure you guys can see that. And then it goes into some of the liner notes. So I want to share a little bit of this with you. And this is the quintessential Vince Guaraldi for our Peanut specials. After scoring our documentary on Charles Schulz, A Boy Named Charlie Brown, Vince composed the music for Charlie Brown Christmas and our second animated special, Charlie Brown's All-Stars, following it up with some of his best atmospheric jazz along with John Scott Trotter for It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. The perfect accomplishment for Linus in his quest to see the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown's lament for only receiving rocks, and Snoopy's first battle with the Red Baron. Vince's score carries the gang with the autumn leaves through the scary and cold Halloween night. The music confirms the indomitable faith of Linus, still waiting for his hero since 1966, forever in our ears, hearts, and memories. That was Lee Mendelson, executive producer. Before his passing at the end of 2019, our father Lee Mendelson asked us to see if we could find any of the original recordings from the Peanut specials. Shortly thereafter, in 2020, amid the pandemic, we had the opportunity to dig deep through our archives and discovered what were previously thought to be lost to time. The original analog session reels for It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, written on tape boxes, was the working title for the project. The Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Big Pumpkin Charlie Brown. And the tapes themselves included almost all the musical cues recorded by Vince Guaraldi, Sextet, and John Scott Trotter for the television special, as well as alternative takes from those from 1966 in the recording sessions. Some cues were missing from those reels and had to be pulled from each alternative source, but rest assured, there are no sound effects included in this release. What you will hear on most tracks are the musical cues as recorded by Vince and crew before they were edited for the television special in order, as well as the section of classic melodies and themes. And even many of the musicians who played with him found this method to be a beautiful mystery. Just before he passed in 2021, drummer Colin Bailey, who played on It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, as well as a Charlie Brown Christmas and He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown, spoke with us and fondly recalled it was terrific playing with Vince. He was a wonderful guy and a great piano player. He was a good man for asking me to play on those sessions. We hope that by listening to this music, especially the bonus material, you would get a glimpse into the Guaraldi's creative process as he and his musicians mold their sound. These takes demonstrate the evolution and choices that become the now famous scores. In 2018 introductory note, our father Lee wrote, "This is the quintessential Vince Guaraldi for our Peanut specials, and in that statement remains true. We know he would be thrilled that we have finally found his great pumpkin. If only we had known we should have been looking for a big pumpkin all along. We hope you enjoy the best version of This Is the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown." It goes on to say, "This definitely isn't a rock. This is instead a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow." And sigh on rapturous satisfaction from Guaraldi, fans who decades beloved, nay insisted, that original Great Pumpkin recording session tapes must exist somewhere. The folks over at Lee Mendelson Film Productions spent a year and change amid the pandemic, searching darkest corners of their voluptuous archives. Marvelous Guaraldi artifacts, some believed lost forever, were unearthed. The initial result was a significant expansion of Guaraldi's sheet music library via the late 2021 debut of Dr. Funk's less well-known Peanuts theme and cues, available as online folios from Hal Leonard Publishing. You are holding the follow-up project. When it debuted in October 27th of 1966, Unlikely as it must seem today, The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown was more popular than A Charlie Brown Christmas had been. The latter earned an impressive Nielsen rating of 28.8, second only to that week's episode of Bonanza, and a 45% audience share, which meant that 45% of people watching television during a half hour chose the Peanuts gang, but The Great Pumpkin achieved a rating of 31.6, sharing first place with Bonanza and a whopping 49% audience share. Of course, back at that time, had I been alive, I'd have been watching Star Trek in 1966. I'm sorry, I had to put that in. The Christmas special had been a happy accident. Even director-producer Lee Mendelson confessed years later in a December 2000 interview to San Francisco Weekly that prior to its debut, we didn't know anything or anybody that was going to watch it. He worried that the animator Bill Melendez had killed Charlie Brown with the meditative, crudely animated show. Happily, the viewing public had a final word. Mendelson and Mandela's sophomore effort, Charlie Brown's All-Stars, made it to third base in June of 1966 with a respectable 23.8 rating and a 46.1 audience share. That's pretty good. You got to think, 41% of the audience on television. I mean, today does the Super Bowl get that? That's really wild. The Great Pumpkin was a grand slam home run, but not merely in terms of viewership. It also had artistic zenith. The first three specials. Many of the now familiar, iconic character quirks were filmed up or introduced to television. Hello, World War I Flying Ace, and Giraldi also sharpened up a sassy bossa nova hued theme that established a musical template for future scores. Many people regard this as their favorite episode. Mendelson acknowledged years later, "We were in a groove by then. I would turn to storyboards over Vince, and he would go to the music on his own. It's my favorite show." Looking back, smiling, a special full of really good moments. I love the story and love the whole idea. I do love the Halloween episode. You know what? I love the Christmas one too. I don't know which one. I'd probably lean towards more the Halloween one, my favorite. But they got so many. They've got it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, a Charlie Brown Christmas. They've got the Easter Charlie Brown, Valentine's Charlie Brown. Then they go into the movies like Snoopy Come Home. And there's just so many awesome Peanut specials. Giraldi composed two new songs that quickly became Peanuts signatures. The gentle lyrical, The Great Pumpkin Waltz, first heard when Linus composes his letter to beloved holiday spirit, the Great Pumpkin, and the swinging, hard-charged Red Baron, a snippet of plays when Snoopy debuts in his Sopwith camel flying eyes, while Charlie Brown and his friends costume up for trick-or-treating. Giraldi also resurrected a theme that he had noodled back in '58 during a private recording session with bassist John Mosher and drummer John E. Markham. This had not yet been shared with the general public. Giraldi had dubbed it D minor major groove, and he remembered that it had an eerie, mild, spooky ambiance, and he retitled it Graveyard Theme. It became this Halloween special's main theme, first heard behind the credits. It's interesting to note that the Red Baron and Graveyard theme are rare examples of primary Peanuts themes Giraldi performed in a minor key. That wasn't accidental. Minor key's moodier atmosphere also suits the Halloween setting. A lot of those Halloween songs, even the Christmas, a lot of the stuff is actually in minor. Christmas music is in minor. It's got that deep, kind of really, not spooky, but mysterious kind of sound. But Giraldi's most significant musical decision involved putting Linus and Lucy front and center. He decided, after having neglected it in Charlie Brown All-Stars, that this bouncy, larkish melody should become the unofficial Peanuts theme. Melendez, full agreement. Storyboard Great Pumpkin opened with a lengthy prologue, benefit of dialogue. Bereft of dialogue, employing only music and sound effects as Linus and Lucy seek the perfect pumpkin in a nearby patch that radiates sincerity for Halloween carving. Guaraldi also understood that not the music, although the Red Baron was written for Snoopy's World War I flying ace persona, this theme isn't heard when the World War famous Beagle takes to the skies in his Sopwith camel doghouse. Sound effects perfectly convey the action. Music would have been superfluous. Great Pumpkin also marks the first time on television that Lucy pulls the football away from Charlie Brown. Again, Guaraldi felt that dialogue, the beat, Charlie Brown's running footsteps, the slide in effect, and he misses the ball, whooshes through the air, and carries the scene. Similarly, Sally's climactic temper tantrum, having realized that she missed trick-or-treating for no reason, while joining Linus in the pumpkin patch, needed no musical accompaniment. The next time you watch The Pumpkin, Madison suggests in his 2000 book, Charlie Brown, The Making of a Television Classic, see and hear how important the music is to the show. Absolutely. Guaraldi and his trio, bassist Kelly Bryan, drummer Lee Charlton, were booked to debut at Pacific Jazz Festival, taking place October 7th through the 9th at the Orange County Fairgrounds. The impressive roster included Stan Kenton and Cal Tater Quintet, Don Ellis, Jefferson Airplane, and Bola Seat, who had left Guaraldi by this point and was heading on his own. Guaraldi flew to Southern California a few days early for an October 4th Great Pumpkin recording session at Desilu's Gower Street studio. Of course, those of you that know my channel know I absolutely love Desilu Studios, because without Desilu Studios, we would not have Star Trek. Let's see, where was I? With whom he had recorded the scores of A Charlie Brown Christmas and never aired, A Boy Named Charlie Brown documentary. They were joined by Emmanuel Klein on trumpet, John Gray on guitar, and Ronald Lang woodwinds. The sextet was supervised by another new face, composer, arranger, and conductor John Scott Trotter, well regarded in his 3-decade run as music director for his good friend Bing Crosby. He brought a broader orchestral sound to the increasingly ambitious melodies that Guaraldi was writing for the Peanuts television franchise. And it goes on to say he also brought chaos. With no scoring experience, Guaraldi had laid down many of his cues for the first 2 Peanuts specials, the way he would record in a studio, as extensive takes that often were too long for the on-screen action they accompanied. As a result, much of the music in those first 2 shows tending to fade out or trail off as the scene concluded. That had become undisciplined. When John was a very, very large man, he'd stand up on this little podium in a big recording studio and direct the musicians. It was kind of fun. I don't know who was paying attention to him, but it did help to organize the music a little better. Trotter also contributed 2 original compositions, Snoopy and the Leaf and Breathless. Guaraldi's fondness for assigning amusing nicknames to friends and colleagues, nobody was surprised when he started referring to Trotter as Trotsky, although never to his face. He had been the case with Budwig and Bailey worked with Guaraldi on A Boy Named Charlie Brown in a Christmas special. They found the process somewhat novel. I had no idea who Charlie Brown was, admitted Bailey, who was born in Swindon, England, because I didn't grow up in this country. We just didn't have the tunes. I didn't have any music. I might have had a couple of lead sheets, but there might have been a stopper or something to catch. Monty had lead sheets for the changes, but there was no rehearsal or anything like that. It was just recording sessions to us. A recording session designated to become historic, as it would turn out. The first thing you'll likely notice, just a few tracks into the album, is the remarkable clarity of all the instruments, most notably the supporting flute and guitar riffs. Lang's flute touches on the show's opening version of Linus and Lucy, and particularly lyrical, I picture Woodstock hovering somewhere unseen above the Van Pelt siblings, even though Snoopy's little bird buddy hadn't been introduced, at least not by name, to the Peanuts gang until 1966. Budwig's smooth bass also worked in a more easily discerned. Thanks to the availability of the unused alternative takes, we got a sense of how Guaraldi and Trotter refined the shape a theme in order to fit an on-screen action as precisely as possible. Compared his first track with track B9, Linus and Lucy Alternative Take 2, the flute had been minimized in favor of Klein's trumpet, which doubles counter melody. The final replies of the core theme also features a dramatic call and response between piano, trumpet, and guitar, all of which sounds a bit too strong for the opening scene. But track B11, in turn, Linus and Lucy Alternative Reprise Take 1, concludes by repeating the climactic da-da-da-da-dum 5 times, which certainly is novel. Similarly, compare the first version of Graveyard Theme, track A2, with track B7, the Graveyard Theme Alternative Take 1. The latter is slightly faster and includes trumpet squawks that sound like a feline wailing atop a fence, a touch that matches the spooky black cat dangling in front of the gang during the show's ending title credits. Nonetheless, a bit too cartoonish for the desired mood. Additionally, the show's title credit version fades and one of the Lang's flute riffs, whereas track A2 allows us to hear the lovely keyboard riffs Guaraldi adds thereafter. Television viewers back in '66 heard more of this cue because the credits concluded by acknowledging co-sponsors Coca-Cola and Dottie Madison. But those final 15 seconds of mid-strip with all existing prints in circulation these days. Yeah, they also had the film where you could see the scarecrow with the ghost flying around the scarecrow, showing the sponsors at the time. And that's the second thing you'll notice about the album. Most of the tracks come clear, neatly defined conclusions rather than simply fading into silence. Many themes also benefit from the absurd of sound effects. Even a brief cue such as at track A3B, Frida, with naturally curly hair. The cue's final methodic descent is much crisper and cleaner, with the intrusive sound of Linus running footsteps and final crash into the leaf pile. You'll find versions of the Great Pumpkin Waltz on this album from each of them quite distinct. Track A7, the Great Pumpkin Waltz Reprise, is more than a minute longer, and what's heard in the show, allowing us to enjoy a never-before-heard piano, flute, and electric guitar bridge. Similarly, pay attention to how different Guaraldi's keyboard noodling is, and the two shorter versions gathered together is track A9. The real treat, however, is track B10, the Great Pumpkin Waltz Alternative Take 2, which finds the flute and guitar taking the melody in succession against Guaraldi's soft comping on keyboard. Here's a surprise, some of high treble riffs on a Celesta. The show's version of the Red Baron cuts off quite abruptly. The longer version here on track A8A is full reading by his new theme, with a nicely defined conclusion. The two versions of Breathless, tracks A11B and B1, absent that sound effect of Snoopy making his way through no man's land. They're a great showcase for this moody drum flute duet. In the show, it's almost impossible to hear Bailey's ticking time bomb drum work. World War I song medley played by Schroeder in the show sounds much the same here, although the final tune, Roses of Picardy, track B2D, runs a bit longer. The concluding Charlie Brown theme, track B5, which plays behind the end of the credits as Linus berates Chuck, runs a bit longer than the show version, showcasing a finger-snapping swing bridge and sleek piano solo, which second to a climactic finale by the entire combo. Again, TV viewers back in the day heard this full take, but concluding 10-second acknowledgement of Dottie Madison and Coca-Cola also must have stripped them from all prints of circulation. Two more versions of this theme are included among the bonus tracks. The first, Charlie Brown theme Alternative Reprise Take 1. Track B8 is slightly faster, with Guaraldi softly comping while Lang's flute takes the melody. The album concludes with Charlie Brown theme Alternative Reprise Take 2. A blown take that hilariously stops abruptly when Guaraldi can be heard objecting. "It's not my key. John, I wrote it in another key." This unexpected birth of reality burst of reality gives us a tantalizing sense of being in a studio with Guaraldi, Trotter, and the other musicians as excellent and oddly touching ways to wrap up this chunk of musical gold from the Mendelssohn Waltz. Linus would be pleased. The Great Pumpkin really did show up this time. And this is by Derek Bang, February of 2022. So, we actually, let me kind of get everything together because it's very windy. I don't want nothing to fly away. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. We looked at the special edition, limited edition release of It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. It's got the limited vinyl shaped like a pumpkin. And it's got all the extras on it. So my friends, I showed you the record. We went over the title tracks and all the liner notes. Sadly, I won't be able to put up any of the music because of the copyright strikes, but I hope you enjoyed the liner notes and the pictures I'll put up going through all of this great material. So my friends, I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, happy Halloween.